例えば己の一生が全て定められていたとしたらどうだろう。人生におけるあらゆる選択、些細なものから大事なものまで選んでいるのではなく選ばされているとしたらどうだろう。無限の可能性などというものは幻想である。人はどれだけあがこうとも定められた道の上から降りられない。止める者は止めるように、貧しき者は飢えるように、善人は善人として、悪人は悪人として、美しき者、醜き者、強き者、弱き者、幸福な者、不幸な者、そして勝つ者、負ける者、すべて初めからそうなるように、それ以外のものにはなれぬように定められていたとしたらどうだろう。ならばどのような咎人にも罪はなく、聖人にも徳などない。何事も己の意志で決めたのではなく、そうさせられているだけだとしたら、ただ流されているだけだとしたら、問うが諸君がそれでよしとするのか。持てる者らはただ与えられただけに過ぎない虚構の玉座に満足か。持たざる者らは一片の罪咎なしに虐げられて許せるか。いいな、断じていいな。それを知った上で笑える者など、生きるということの意味を忘れた劣等種、人とは呼べぬ奴隷だろう。気の抜けた勝利の酒ほど今日のそげるものはない。運命とやらに舐めさせられる敗北ほど耐え難い苦渋はない。このような屈辱を、このような茶番劇をただ繰り返し続けるのが人生だ。よし、私はあがき抜こう。どこまでもどこまでも道が終わるまで歩き続ける。はるか果てに至った場所で私は私だけのオペラを作る。ゆえに諸君らの力を借りたい。虐げられ踏みつぶされ、今まさに殺されんとしている君ら、ひととき同胞だった者たちよ。諸君らは敗北者として生まれ、敗北者として死に続ける。その運命を呪うのならば、私のもとに来るがよい。100度繰り返しても勝てぬのならば、1000度繰り返し戦えばよい。1000度繰り返しても勝てぬのならば、万度繰り返し戦えばよい。未来永劫永遠に勝つまで戦い続けることを誓えばよい。それができるというならば、諸君らが術の一部となることを許可しよう。永劫勝つため。獣の盾が、その一本一本が諸君らの血肉で編まれることを祝福しよう。今はまだ私も君ら、そして彼ら、忌々しい輪の内ではあるものの、これから先ここでの選択が真に意味あるものであったと思えるように、いつかはきっとこの無限に続く輪を壊せるように。さあどうする諸君ら、この時代の敗北者たちよ。私に答えを聞かせてくれ。戦うか否か。
Yes? Wait, is that a rhetorical question? Hey guys, it's your local edgelord here, Kane, and I'm playing a game called, how do you even say that? Dice, Amantes, amentes. But yeah, it's a visual novel, I suppose I should classify it as. And yeah, saw it on Steam. It was free, and I was like, "Oh, that looks litty titty." The soundtrack is amazing. So let's get into it. May 1st, 1945, Berlin, Germany. 12:27 a.m. Holy shit. The closing act of the Second World War was the manifestation of total war such as had never been seen before. This music kicked in out of nowhere. No, the term carnage would have been more appropriate. Outmanned in every way, Berlin stood in complete isolation, slipping towards the crevice of annihilation. The nearly 500,000 troops marched under the banner of the Red Army had already surrounded the capital, making escape virtually impossible. Guns roared, mingling with the screams of the dying in an incessant cacophony of terror. I don't even know both of those words, incessant and cacophony of terror, as the city was razed and its people massacred. Bloodshed, carnage, all in order to eradicate the enemies of this world, be they young or old, man or woman. Justice, revenge, love, peace, oppression, liberty, equality, the slogan one chose to attach to the horror made little difference. The chaos engulfing the bloody streets demonstrated quite readily the atrocities that would manifest when man was presented with a convenient higher cause to justify them with. Yes, for example, in this corner of the city, a blinding light flashed, followed by a roaring explosion. This latest bombardment sent even more soldiers, at least 3 whose silhouettes were still recognizable human, to their deaths, spreading their remains across the pavement. Bastards! Letting out a loud curse, a man leapt out of the trenches with Panzerfaust in hand. He just leaped out of the trenches with a rocket launcher. Protected by the covering fire of his allies, Scheimeisters, he dashed over into effective firing range. He rose to his knees, took aim and pulled the trigger, firing a heat warhead. The projectile shot forward, smashing right into the flank of a tank. Its armor dissolved in ordnance with the Newman effect, and the tank imploded in a torrent of liquefied metal in 1,000-degree flames. The man tossed aside his Panzerfaust and, backed by his comrades from behind, started cleaning up his remaining foes with his Mauser. Such was war. It allowed no time for idle thoughts. Only slaughter, murder, and bloodshed. No man could keep his sanity in this hell. And so the perpetrators of this chaos howled and raged, never looking back, revealing in boundless insanity to keep their blood afire. Within this flaming wasteland of gunplay, soldiers single-mindedly continued their murderous dance as if it was some ungodly ritual. Of course, in reality, it was all but child's play. Soldiers against soldiers, rifles against pistols. No matter how fiercely they fought on this battlefield, the outcome of this war was already set in stone. The Third Reich had crumbled, the ambitions of its visionary leader lost in the flames of war. What remained on that tattered battlefield was the shaken remnants of the defeated and the mob of the victors, flocking like vultures to the smell of decaying flesh. Certain death. Inescapable defeat. Any attempt to retaliate was merely a self-serving act of revenge, with no hope of salvation. The situation had surpassed anything that might elicit notions of despair, transforming into no more than an absurd comedy of sorts. And yet, kill them, kill them, kill them all. His heart beat still. His hand gripped steel. He would not stop as long as there were enemies to kill. For it was his sworn duty. If there existed even one thing, anything at all, to justify this hellfire, be it sheer insanity, then that by itself would have been a blessing in disguise. Honor and glory, debased and disgraced, worth less than pig shit. And yet human life remained the cheapest currency. That was reality. Is this all that's left of us? After wiping out all leftover foes and regrouping with his comrades, it dawned upon the man that there were only 3 of them left standing, himself included. The company tasked with protecting this block had been completely annihilated. The situation was anything but promising, and still more enemies were on their way. What about our Panzerfaust? You just used the last one, Master Sergeant. This is the end for us. The war is lost. The young man flashed a bitter smile as he handed over his Schmeisser to the other. The older man glared at him, but offered no more in the way of reproach. The war is lost. Indeed, that was the bitter truth of it. Berlin had fallen, the company massacred, and the remaining 3 soon to join them. Well, not that it matters at this point. Would be nice if we could at least go out with a bang, though. It's not like we've anywhere to flee. Your name, soldier. I'm not gonna butcher his name, so you heard him say it. What about you, sir? Walter Gerlitz. I suppose we'd all rather know the names of the men we'll be dying with. You there! The Master Sergeant, Walter Gerlitz, directed his gaze at the final survivor of the company, a young boy who had thus far remained silent. Your name? The boy's eyes darted as he failed to hide his shock. Was even younger than Joachim, barely in his teens. If Walter had a son, he might have been around the same age. Marco Schmidt, sir. I see. Walter was about to ask what a mere child was doing there, but ultimately swallowed his words. It was a foolish question. The enemy would show no mercy to them, not even to children. The reason for it was very clear. They were the bitter enemies of the Red Army. The despite members of the I'm not saying that. Even if they were to surrender, the Soviets were doubtlessly uninterested in taking them as prisoners. As such, fighting until the last breath was the only option left to them. Walter was certain that Joachim was ready to give his life for the fatherland. The boy, on the other hand. What will become of Berlin? No, of Germany after the war is over. And what of our friends and families? You're asking the wrong man.
戦勝国様が偉そうに俺たちを悪魔だ非人道的だなどと裁くのさ。笑わせるぜ。
It's always the same shit. The victors will paint us as inhumane monsters and mete out whatever justice they deem appropriate. Give me a break. Joachim shed his disaffected act, the bitter tone in his voice making his true position on the situation clear.
ドレスデンに母さんと妹がいたんだ。なのに爆撃でぶっ飛ばされて骨のかけらも見つからない。悪魔だって。一体何の冗談だ。俺たちは国のために戦ってただけなのに、それはあいつらクソ舐めやがって。
My mother and sister lived in Dresden, but they got caught in the bombing. Never so much as found a piece of them. And they call us monsters. Ridiculous. We were merely fighting to protect our fatherland. And yet those bastards, who the hell do they think they are? He would never surrender. Yet even if he gave his life in the battle to come, the outcome of the war had already been decided. Nothing could change that. Least of all himself. With this defeat, their fatherland and their descendants would. A single soldier was powerless to alter the great current of a war. Joachim tried to express his dissatisfaction with that reality as best he could while Marco silently listened. So if I have nothing else left, at least... Several rifle shots echoed from the left just then. Walter and Marco just barely managed to duck into cover, but Joachim was not so fortunate. His head was shot clean off by the first wave, followed by an entire volley of bullets being unloaded into his chest. God damn it! Pelted by machine gun fire, Joachim's body contorted in a queer manner, almost reminiscent of some form of dance before finally hitting the ground. An anticlimactic finale indeed for the youth who had only moments prior expressed his desire to fight to the bitter end. But such was the reality of the situation, the reality of war. There were no heroes here, no messiahs or miracles to save them, only men dying like insects. And should one allow his soul to be overcome by wrath or despair when confronted with this knowledge, it would serve only to invite the jaws of death to consume him next. The chaos of war would not tolerate idle thoughts. Knowledge of one's duty was all that was necessary. Schmidt! Answer me, Schmidt! As Walter rolled into the safety of a ruined building, he shouted the name of his lone surviving comrade with all the strength he could muster. But instead of words, the sole reply he received was yet another flash, followed by a fiery explosion. The upper half of the young boy's body was flung at Walter's feet. The cramped alleyway was heavy with the stench of blood and scorched entrails. Walter powerlessly dropped to his knees into the vast sea of blood. Ah, Sergeant Major! Forgive me for not being of more use. Marco smiled even as the last embers of his life faded away. It was unbelievable someone could still form words in a state such as this. Walter took the boy's hand. I don't want to die. If I die here, then what have we been fighting for all this time? Give me a second, guys. Okay, it was a bit too loud for me. Good lord, that one was flipping out. I don't know if any of these people are important. I feel like I'm spoiling something right now. Okay, let's get back. Okay, I think this is better. Sir, please tell me. Are we monsters? Berlin? In Germany? Poor boy. You mustn't talk. As the gunfire continued, a brand new tank rolled onto the battlefield. Marco Schmidt was beyond help. Not even God could save him now. And so Walter's rightful place now was on the battlefield. His hand clutched a gun, and not the hand of a dying soldier. His ears lit not to the naive parting remarks of a boy, but strained to hear the breathing of his enemy. He knew that better than anyone, and yet... Have we committed sins? Does that make this our punishment? I know there was no pride in war and murder, but we... Joachim, Walter, and so many other German soldiers just like them had done nothing more than take up arms to protect their fatherland and loved ones. Was that truly a sin? Surrounded by the flames of the dying capital, the young boy spoke in mere disjointed fragments, voicing a question Walter himself would have loved to pose to the heavens above. Most likely. Yet after mere seconds of doubt, Walter answered curtly. Waging war is no sin. Losing a war is. Such was the way of the world, a cruel, bitter truth. Walter found within himself a growing resentment for the Lord. Marco Schmidt then quietly passed away in Walter's arms, the man gazing up at the heavens. The young soldier's smile in death, albeit tainted with blood and mud, still held traces of boyhood. Worry not, Schmidt. Browner. A bitter smile mirroring Marco's crept onto Walter's face. それでもダメならまたその次で100万回も繰り返せばこんな結末をひっくり返せるかもしれない We will claim the next one. If not, then the next one, or the one after that. Even if we are doomed to repeat this outcome a million times before knowing victory. His words might have seemed the ramblings of a lunatic beset by the armies of death, but they were more than that. Walter cocked his Smizer, confirmed it was loaded, then charged out of the ruined building into the open. He unconsciously let out a battle cry loud enough that it threatened to rend his throat. Would he end up gunned down like Joachim or share the same fate as Marco? It hardly mattered anymore. Either way, he'd merely die a miserable death befitting this miserable war. His mind was occupied by such despaired thoughts, and no way could he have predicted what was to come next. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
彼らに永遠の安息を与え、絶えざる光もて照らしたまえ。
Grant them eternal rest, O Lord, and may everlasting light shine upon them. ... Indeed. It was his soldier's intuition that drove Walter to reflexively take shelter. What with that? His vision was drowned out by a blinding white light and an explosion so fierce it dwarfed all previous bombardments, an explosion that seemed to rip apart the very heavens. Walter realized that this explosion was far beyond the level of any weapon that could have possibly been employed in urban warfare. What in the world had happened? The city he had literally staked his life to protect had been reduced to a charred wasteland. Although it took quite a while for Walter to regain his sight and hearing, there was still not enough time for him to make sense of the situation. Part of him wondered if it was all a sick joke. Only one thing was clear: both his allies' corpses and the encroaching enemy troops had been annihilated. No bombing raid could have inflicted such immense damage, and although Walter had managed to survive the attack itself, his resulting wounds were deep. Pieces of steel and concrete blasted in his direction by the explosion had pierced his back and flank. The hand that once held his smiter was blown off from the elbow. It wasn't even worth the effort to attempt to discern the number of more minor injuries. His incessant bloody vomit told him that he had also suffered several internal damage. Severe internal damage. He would not make it. FFF. Walter swore blindly, no longer certain of the target of his indignation. Just then the voice from before rang out again. Hear my prayer, O Lord. To you all flesh shall come. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for the Lord hath dealt bountifully with thee. It was a requiem offered up to fallen soldiers. One sung in a beautiful voice. Not even a prestigious church choir could produce a melody quite this dignified. Yet at the same time, the scorn seeping into the voice was all too evident. Only upon the eve of the apocalypse itself could such a voice be conceived as an angel's. The song of the dead was scorn, ridicule, and mockery, deriving the utmost pleasure in trampling upon every last remnant of the dignity they possessed. The voice of a destroyer intoxicated by mayhem. This was the product of a black mind possessed solely by an inhuman malice. Grant them eternal rest, O Lord, and may everlasting light shine upon them. And so, stepping onto the vast expanse of debris, the destroyer appeared, that demonic requiem at his lips. It was a young boy, lacking in years, even in comparison to Marco, with a face so delicate that a careless glance could easily mistake his features for those of a girl's. A single look at the boy was enough to give Walter chills. His teeth began to chatter. Although he had lost a considerable amount of blood and his vision had gone hazy, the reason behind the freezing chill at his back lay elsewhere. The sheer enmity and bane radiating from the boy's visage indeed contributed to that. But to Walter, the most dreadful thing was the fact that he knew that face. There lived no man who'd fought on the Eastern Front and knew not of this boy. A beast possessed by an insatiable hunger, his aberrant mind ruled by inhuman madness, his single eye gleamed, silver locks swaying. He gripped a pair of guns, each engraved with a wolf sigil, the rune of the wolf. There was no doubt, it was the face Walter could never forget. The face of a boy who had supposedly died 3 years ago. Major Schreiber. Eastern Front Assault Corps Special Unit Leader SS Major Wolfgang Schreiber. An unchained beast that slaughtered both friend and foe. The ashen demon that had supposedly met his end during a purge. How could he be standing here?
ああ、誰かと思えばバルター・ゲルリッツ総長かい？アインザッツグルペンじゃ迷惑かけたね。元気かい？
Not reading that. Hardly the words of one offer a dying comrade, especially one whose death was most likely caused by Schreiber himself. The boy flashing an instantly devilish smile in front of Walter was no doubt the very same person he remembered. And yet his abhorrement bore not the swastika, but a different symbol altogether, almost as if he was no comrade at all. Why are you here? Hmm?
なぜも何も僕も君も軍人だろ？戦って殺すのが商売なんじゃないのかな？
The boy playfully surveyed the landscape. It was proof enough of his statement, and what followed was nothing short of unnatural. Something akin to opaque vapor erupted in their vicinity, like a fog or a haze. At the same time, Walter's senses was assaulted by a dreadful moaning. These were the cursed cries of the fallen, fated to suffer and lament until the very end of time. The endless chorus of lamentation caused even the seething air of the battlefield to cool. These were the spirits of the dead. Walter felt like he could almost make out the faces of Marco and Joachim among the swirling mass, as well as the destination towards which they were spiraling. Straight into Schreiber's Tokenhoff's eye patch. He was devouring the very souls of those he had slain. Confronted with such a repulsive, unworldly spectacle, Walter could not determine whether he should give himself over to rage or simply weep. He longed for the repose of insanity.
さて、それじゃあ総長、僕はもう行かないといけないんだけど。君はどうする？
Well then, Schreiber, seemingly done with his meal, rarely turned his neck to Walter. He was breathing his last, not in any condition to spill blood like a soldier should.
殺し足りなくはないのかい？
Do you not hunger for more?
今さら連中の100や1000を殺したところで何も変わりやしないけどね。でもだからって何もせずに黙ってる必要なんかどこにもない。見なよこのベルリンを。まったくひどいありさまじゃないか。こんなものが僕らの求めた千年帝国の終わりだなんて誰が納得するって言うんだよ。
Content.
できないよね。
No one, right? Walter threw a piercing glance at the smiling boy. Indeed, no one in their right mind would be content with such an outcome. He'd had friends to call his own, a family to go home to, a woman to love. He cherished this country. All of that became tainted due to Germany's defeat, dishonor that no century should wash clean. That was
許せないよね。
unforgivable, right?
薄汚い劣等ごときが我が物顔で帝都を蹂躙するなんて。 女や子供や年寄りを犯して殺して吊るすなんてさ。
Unforgivable, right? Those repugnant lowlives tore down our walls and trampled upon our great capital, killed our children, raped our women, and hanged our elders.
総長、忠勇なるドイツ軍人バルター・ゲルリッツ総長殿、君の気持ちを聞かせてくれ。君は一体どうしたい？
My dear Master Sergeant Walter Gerald, sworn and loyal blade of the German army, I ask of you, what do you desire? The amount of blood leaking forth from Walter's mouth made speech difficult, but his feelings were set. Joachim, who vowed to fight to the bitter end, Marco, who wished for victory, their feelings as well as his own. The boy standing before him was unmistakably from the fold of the devil, but such things mattered little at this point. What he wanted was to emerge victorious. Victory, honor, and glory for the fatherland. To bring peace for friends and family that had fallen. To bring prosperity for generations yet unborn. And above all else for his very own soul.
ジーク入る。そうさ総長、素晴らしいよその息だ。君のような勇者にこそあの方の血肉となる資格がある。戦争は終わらない。僕たちが終わらせない。何度でも何度でも何度でも何度でも続けて続けて続けて続けて。
Grant us victory.
掴むまで共に行こうじゃないか。無限に続く戦場へ。
Schreiber thrust his maws in Walter's direction as the last light of the man's soul began to fade.
彼らに永遠の安息を与え。
Grant them eternal rest, O Lord, and my everlasting light shine upon them. The requiem was one of the scorn for the fallen, pregnant with malicious intent, and yet Walter thought it beautiful like the song of an angel. It was then that he finally realized that this was the apocalypse, and that he would soon join the ranks of those marching to destroy the world. He would become a stand of the beast's mane, one of many in his legion. Evil laughter. The boy gazed to the heavens and offered a splitting crackle, the silver hair dancing. The soul of Walter Gerald was sucked into the boy's blood-crazed eye and vanished. At the same time, in another place, a new nightmare was unfolding. Alright, guys, I think I've done this long enough. This was a visual novel, so it's just like a book that you read that has like pictures and music and stuff. That's pretty much all this is. It's just a visual novel. But it's still kind of entertainment if you want me to read to you, I guess. So if you like this video, you know, like, and if you're not subscribed, please do that also. And I will see all you dudes and dudettes in the next video. Peace.